Steelers, Pittsburgh Steelers. This is a team that's been kind of head scratching as of late, right? About 3, 4, 5 weeks ago, I said it would not shock me one bit if they made it to the Super Bowl. It would not shock me one bit if we had an all Pennsylvania Super Bowl. Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. But since then, Steelers have been kind of treading water. They've been on this ship. They've been trying to shovel off the water, and it just keeps going down, down, down again. Right? They are currently 5th seed in the AFC playoffs right now, and they would be playing the Houston Texans. They have lost 3 games in a row. A loss to the Philadelphia Eagles, 27-13. They lost to the Baltimore Ravens, 34-17, and then they lost to the Kansas City Chiefs on Christmas Day, 29-10. Of course, that was the 3 games in 11 days, and all 3 of those losses were against playoff teams. However, their last game of the season is on January 5th versus the Cincinnati Bengals, and they did beat the Cincinnati Bengals earlier this season, 44-38. That was a very, very shocking game in my eyes. The Pittsburgh Steelers defense totally just forgot to show up, I think, right? Versus playoff teams so far this season, guys, they are 5-3 versus playoff teams so far this season. So, guys, are the Pittsburgh Steelers, are they contenders or are they pretenders? Can they win their first round game, whether it be versus the Houston Texans or they win the division, the AFC North, and they play the Denver Broncos? Can they win that first game? When you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers offense, they're ranked 18th total offense. They're averaging 327.3 yards per game. They're 25th in passing at 196.6 yards per game, 10th in rushing at 130.8 yards per game, 13th in scoring, which is kind of shocking to me, actually, but 22.7. But their red zone offense is terrible. Terrible red zone offense, ranked 31st in the NFL, scoring at a rate of 46.3%. Their defense is their bread and butter, is the X factor. But their defense as of right now has not been playing that great. They have the 11th ranked overall defense, giving up 327.5 yards per game. They're 24th in passing on the defensive side of things, giving up 226.9 yards per game. 6th in rush defense, giving up just over 100 yards per game. 8th in scoring, giving up only 20.5 points per game. And 16th in red zone defense, allowing teams to score at a rate of 56.1%. So, guys, are the Pittsburgh Steelers, are they contenders or pretenders going into a wild card game? And I do have to say that the Pittsburgh Steelers, despite their recent struggles, despite losing 3 games in a row, despite having one of the toughest back ends of the schedule in the NFL, despite losing to non-playoff teams like the Cleveland Browns, they are still a contender. They are still 10-6. They are still in one of the toughest divisions in football in the AFC North. Yes, I know all 4 teams are not making the playoffs, but the Bengals and Browns are still pretty good teams. Hell, the Bengals could still make the playoffs. Let's not get it twisted. Guys, the Pittsburgh Steelers are contenders. They can beat the Broncos. They can beat the Chargers. They can beat the Houston Texans. They can beat the Baltimore Ravens. Hell, they could even beat the Buffalo Bills in the playoffs. It is what it is. Hell, I said this earlier, and I'm going to stand by it again. As a Kansas City Chiefs fan, the only team I'm afraid of in the playoffs are the Pittsburgh Steelers. Guys, the Pittsburgh Steelers are a contenders. They can wait. They can beat the Houston Texans. I think everybody agrees with that. If it comes down to Houston Texans versus the Pittsburgh Steelers, a lot of us are taking the Pittsburgh Steelers in that particular game. But let's move on. Let's move. Let's think of the divisional round. Could they beat the Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium? And truth be told, as a Chiefs fan, I am scared of the Pittsburgh Steelers. It is what it is. Because yes, that offense is terrible. 25th in passing, 18th overall. But that offense gets a little bit of juice in them, right? Just plays just a little bit better. And that defense continues to do what they know how to do. Not what they've done the last few games, but what they know how to do. They can shut down a team like the Kansas City Chiefs. I understand playoff Kansas City Chiefs are a different breed. Do not get that twisted. But I'm saying the Pittsburgh Steelers guys are contenders. I am saying that they are contenders. But what do you guys think? In the comments below, are the Pittsburgh Steelers, are they contenders or are they pretenders? Can they win a wild card game? Casey Morgan says, if the Steelers play like they did on Christmas Day, they are a first round exit, even if they're playing the Texans. So Casey's saying pretenders. Freddie Edit says, let's go Vikings. Josh says they're not even a top 10 team right now. They are not. They are playing the worst football of the NFL season as of right now. Josh, you are 100% correct. But maybe this is all by design. Maybe this is all by design. Maybe they want that fifth seed. Hell, maybe they want that 6th seed. Maybe they want to play the Ravens or the Texans in the first round. I said it on our Facebook. If I was a Pittsburgh Steelers, I would be taking for the 5th seed. I want to play the Houston Texans. I want to play the Houston Texans. And Alfarad says they are contenders. They will win their wild card game. And I agree with you on that. Max says they cannot move the ball when needed. Their front four defense can't hold against the playoff caliber teams when they can't score. I believe Wilson won't take the team to the conference. And this is the downside of the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? Because George Pickens has been out. George Pickens did not play against the Philadelphia Eagles. George Pickens did not play against the Ravens, right? George Pickens had flashes of greatness versus the Kansas City Chiefs. George Pickens is that X factor on the offense. The reason why the offense has been struggling the last 3 weeks is because George Pickens hasn't been 100%. He played the Kansas City Chiefs game, and I would say he's probably only 70%. And he's still kind of, as much as I love my Kansas City Chiefs, McDuffie kind of got schooled by George Pickens a little bit. Let's just be honest. He kind of got schooled a little bit. Now George Pickens has, 11 days off before they play the Cincinnati Bengals? And then they have another 7 days off to play the Houston Texans? Look out, baby. Look out. Alpha Rob says Russ can't go toe-to-toe with Mahomes and Allen. And you are correct, Alpha Rob. Russell Wilson cannot go toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or hell, even C.J. Stroud. Maybe not even Bo Nix. Let's just be honest. However, he doesn't have to, because the one thing good about the Pittsburgh Steelers is Russell Wilson is there just not to lose them games. He is there to manage them. They want to run the ball and they want to play defense. They want to nickel and dime it down the field. They want to make you have 2, 3, 4 less possessions in a game. And that is what ultimately makes the Steelers a dangerous team, makes them contenders. Is because Mike Tomlin knows their team, knows his team, and they know how to win this season. Nacho says the Steelers are pretenders. A contender doesn't lose 3 games in a row by more than 2 touchdowns. And Nacho, I would agree with you if it wasn't versus playoff teams like the Eagles, the Ravens, the Chiefs. All teams that could be Super Bowl caliber teams, Super Bowl bound teams. All 3 of those teams are Super Bowl bound teams. They can go to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. All 3 of those teams can. Also, George Pickens was out. That is tough. You have to take that into accountability, right? Casey says, do agree the Steelers are a dark horse. And so let me preface this by saying that it would not shock me one bit, guys, if they get beat by the Houston Texans. I will be picking them over the Houston Texans, and I'm going to still continue that if they play in the first round. But it would not shock me one bit if they do drop that game. I'm just saying. They are the highest ceiling and the lowest floor of every team in the playoffs. Lowest floor meaning that any team can beat them. Highest ceiling meaning that they can beat any team. It is tough. And Freddie says the Vikings are winning the Super Bowl. The Vikings are not winning their first game. All right, guys, so let's move on.